Well, hello again, everybody. It's time to rank some more cathedrals. Last time I covered the New York cathedrals, and to my surprise, that video did incredibly well. It got 1.2 thousand views in a week, which is a record for me. Must have been picked up by the algorithm. It's not my most viewed video, no, that would be a random meme I posted back in 2018, but it is still satisfying to see a video I actually put effort into doing well. Feels like my work is finally paying off, so I want to say thank you. Thank you for watching it, for commenting, yes, even the ones I disagree with, even the 5-paragraph essay, all of it, for liking and boosting in any way. I don't know if this will be the big thing that finally gets me an audience, but who knows, it might be. Anyway, today we're covering the cathedrals in the Hartford province, which are all the dioceses in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Yes, Connecticut is a tiny state, but it is so populated that it has 3 dioceses. This is going to be a shorter one, as there's just 4 dioceses and 4 cathedrals. We're in New England now, which is very historically Catholic, so these are going to be some good ones. So, last up this time is the Cathedral of St. Augustine, which is located on a small hill in downtown Bridgeport that overlooks the city. This cathedral looks like a traditional church, with a single tower with a steeple in the center and a nave that goes straight back. It's a smaller cathedral, but even for the last one on this list, it's still really good. I really like the stonework on the outside. It makes it look a lot older than it actually is. The inside is great. It's small, but it's beautiful. The nave is done in a traditional Gothic style with the arched columns, and I really like the blue ceiling. As for the sanctuary, I like the chessboard floor, which is the first thing I noticed. Obviously, I love a cathedral with a portico, although, as I found out, it can also be called a baldacchino. I've heard it called both, and I've been calling it a portico this whole time, so I'm going to stick with that. The pulpit, while made of wood, is grand and prominent, and the tabernacle is gorgeous and is exactly where it should be. Now I gotta say something about the bishop's chair here. So, as you can see, the chair itself is nice and it's located off to the left. But if you look just behind it, you can see a statue of Mary sitting a few steps off the ground. Now, while the statue is gorgeous, it looks like it doesn't belong there. In fact, it looks like it's where the bishop's chair is supposed to be. Look at it. Doesn't the platform that the statue is on look exactly like a bishop's chair setup? I propose that the bishop's chair actually used to be in that spot, and then at some point it was moved to where it is now, and then the statue of Mary was placed there. If anyone who's been to the cathedral knows if that's true or not, let me know because I'm so curious if that's the case. Anyway, while this is a great cathedral, all the other ones on this list are just objectively better, so that's why it's last. And one last fun fact, Archbishop William Laurie of Baltimore, my archbishop, was previously the Bishop of Bridgeport, so this was his former cathedral. Alright everyone, geography quiz time. We're all going to point to Norwich on this map of Connecticut. Ready? Alright, go! Did you get it? If you pointed to this spot, you are correct. A lot of you have probably never even heard of Norwich, but it's a small town in the eastern half of the state, and it's also a diocese. It's one of those towns where you wonder how the heck is that a diocese, but it's a diocese. I promise I'll make that video at some point. Anyway, the crown jewel of this town is the Cathedral of St. Patrick, located just north of downtown and standing tall over everything else. This is one of those cathedrals that might not fit in its location, considering Norwich is a small industrial town and this cathedral looks like it belongs in England. Which, by the way, there is a diocese of Norwich, England, but that's an Anglican diocese. I don't know what the Catholic diocese would be over there. Anyway, this is the cathedral for the Diocese of Norwich, Connecticut, and it's a beauty. I love that it has 3 spires and they continually grow taller from left to right. The inside is incredible. The color just pops out and the columns are tall and imposing. The stained glass windows particularly are amazing and intricately detailed. The sanctuary is a step up from the last one. I love the windows behind it, and the portico is amazing. The tabernacle is once again where it should be, but my one major complaint is the pulpit. It's made of marble, but I don't think it's big enough. Everything else is big and grand, but the pulpit just kind of looks like an afterthought. It's not bad, but it could be better. Lastly, the bishop's chair is huge and it looks like a throne. Overall, this reminds me of St. Mary's Cathedral in Ogdensburg, New York a bit, as in it punches way above its weight for especially for a pretty small diocese. Okay, for the first time in a few videos, the Archdiocesan Cathedral is not the best one, but it absolutely is the second best this time around. Located in the Asylum Hill district, this cathedral is definitely the most unique one on the list. It stands out big time. First of all, it's the second biggest Catholic church in New England. Second, it towers over the whole city and is another one that can be seen from the highways, so much to the point where it's almost part of the Hartford skyline. And third, this is the first time we've seen a cathedral built in a brutalist style architecture. So this replaced the original cathedral which burned down in 1956. Now, this new design was controversial then, and it still is today. A lot of people in the Archdiocese of Hartford actually don't really like their cathedral because they think such a modern, oftentimes ugly style certainly doesn't fit a church. However, I disagree. Yes, there are several brutalist style churches that were built throughout the world, mostly in Europe in the 1960s and 70s, that are quite frankly hideous. This is an exception. I think there's a right way to build a church in any style, and this is the right way to build a brutalist church. The exterior sort of reminds me of the Cathedral of Mary Our Queen in Baltimore, my favorite cathedral ever, as it does have a similar look. However, the Cathedral of St. Joseph here has a massive tower in the front, which makes it even more imposing. And I think that's what I like best about the exterior. It's imposing. Yes, Catholic churches are houses of God where all are welcome, but dang, I just really like it when the building itself is towering and imposing. Not in a menacing way, but in a sense of wonder and awe. But the reason this cathedral is the second best is inside. Just take a look at this. Pictures don't do it justice, and I really wish I'm able to visit this place in person one day, because spectacular doesn't even begin to describe it. I don't understand how some people don't like this because it's an absolute gem. The first thing you notice is just how huge it is. It just keeps on stretching back. Next, and the most prominent feature, are the stained glass windows. Usually, a church isn't built specifically with the windows being the main feature in mind, but this one was. The windows create a rainbow effect, easily making this the most colorful cathedral thus far. I also really love the ceiling with the stars. Now let's talk about the sanctuary. The centerpiece is the massive floor-to-ceiling mural behind the altar. It's magnificent. Speaking of, the altar itself is especially good, being made of marble, and it matches the pulpit. And of course, there's a portico above the high altar in the back. Now, unfortunately, I have two big complaints here, which is why this cathedral isn't number one. First, the Archbishop's chair is really bland. Don't get me wrong, the setup is good, but the chair itself is totally plain. Second, and my biggest complaint, is that the tabernacle isn't on the high altar where it should be. Look, I get that it could be give or take. In fact, the number one cathedral on this list also doesn't have the tabernacle in the center. But with this cathedral, there is no excuse for it to not be in the center. The Archbishop's chair is to the left, and the high altar is completely empty. There's nothing on it. The tabernacle is in a side chapel, but it would literally be as simple as picking it up and putting it on the high altar. For those reasons, I had to knock it down a spot. But even so, this cathedral is magnificent no matter who says otherwise. And one more fun fact, ever heard of the Knights of Columbus? Well, their father, Blessed Michael McGivney, was a priest from the Archdiocese of Hartford. Now, he served at a parish in New Haven, but that's Hartford territory. He's currently on his way to sainthood, and he will hopefully be canonized someday. So, who would have thought Rhode Island would have the best cathedral in the Hartford province? The Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul is the mother church of the Diocese of Providence, which takes up the entire state of Rhode Island, which is not that big a territory given that Rhode Island is the smallest state in the US. However, it is a fairly large diocese with 500,000 Catholics. It also has the best cathedral on this list. Located in downtown Providence, this cathedral is such an integral part of the city that it has its own plaza all to itself. This is another imposing church, perhaps more so than Hartford's cathedral. From the outside, this is one that looks like a castle. In fact, I think that this is the most castle-esque cathedral we've seen so far. The double square towers really drive that home, and this is the first time we've seen a clock on both towers instead of just one. As always, the inside is superior. This is another traditional Gothic design with high arched columns and a vaulted roof. Speaking of which, this is my favorite ceiling out of all the cathedrals. I love how intricately carved it is. This is another cathedral that's dark on the inside too, and I love darker churches. As for the sanctuary, it's the best one yet. The first thing you notice is the massive rose window, which is always great. Second, as I mentioned, the tabernacle is off to the right in its own little chapel, but even though I'd like it to be in the center, the bishop's chair is already there. And this is one of the best bishop's chairs so far. It's a marble throne, and it almost doesn't fit with the other wooden chairs. In fact, this is a new chair replacing the original one, which was made of wood. The altar and pulpit are gorgeous, and I love the smooth, dark stone texture on both of them. And lastly, the light fixture above the altar almost looks like a crown, which I assume is supposed to represent Christ the King. This is my favorite cathedral because it combines a lot of things I like about church design. Gothic architectures, clock towers, castle-inspired exterior, vaulted ceilings, columns, a darker atmosphere, and beautiful marble for the sanctuary. If you're ever in Rhode Island, check this place out. I hope I get to one day. And one last little fact about the diocese itself. Last year, my former auxiliary bishop of Baltimore, Bruce Lee Mondowski, became the Bishop of Providence. I believe that was Pope Francis's final American bishop appointment before he died. Hard to believe it's been over a year since then, and almost a full year since Pope Leo's election. Time really does fly. Alright, that concludes this video. I just wanted to say thank you once again, and welcome to anyone who might be new here. I've been trying on and off again to gain traction on YouTube for over 8 years now. Maybe I finally found my niche. I plan to continue to drop a new video at least once a week, so stay tuned. I'm not sure what my next video is going to be, but it'll be something other than cathedrals. As I've said before, I'm alternating weeks for this series. But the next cathedral video will be covering the Boston province, so hopefully you'll look forward to that. Like the video, share it, subscribe if you haven't, I'd really appreciate it. I'm almost at 200 subscribers, which isn't a lot, but it's more than I have ever had. And maybe I'll hit 1,000 soon and I'll be able to monetize. Wouldn't that be neat? Anyway, that's all for now. I'm off to my cousin's wedding this weekend. Alright, see ya.